I created this poster to inform people about Kemet, which is ancient Egypt, and a little bit about how Christianity adopted some of their concepts from the ancient Egyptians. And the ancient Egyptians were the first civilization on earth, and they believed in many gods and goddesses, whereas Christianity teaches us that, you know, they don't worship more than one god, but in ancient Kemet they did. So Christianity did adopt some of the concepts from the ancient Egyptians. And I have here about this poster. I decided to create this poster showing ancient Egyptian history or mythology. Christianity has adopted some of the ancient Egyptian practices of spirituality, but they took the stories and created their own versions and placed them in what we now call the Bible. So, let's start from the beginning. Okay, now, during a conversation that I had earlier today with a friend, they told me that they knew that God was both male and female. They had heard that before, but I had never heard that before until I started doing some research of the ancient Egyptian religion, or what they call the Kemetic faith or the Kemetic religion. So this poster, or this picture that I have here, excuse me, is of God, and it states that God is both male and female. And it says here, Atum is the collective awareness of the entire universe. She, he, has created everything and is everyone. And it says here, Atum created him, herself, and came up out of the waters of chaos. Atum is the collective awareness of the entire universe. All things and all names are part of the one. So, and some of the names that I'm quite sure you all have heard of are Allah, God, Jehovah, and Yahweh. Now, another thing that the Bible, not that I know of, but not that I've ever read or heard, tells us that God, in the ancient Egyptian religion, or the Kemetic religion, tells us that Atum, which is the Kemetic name for him, had two children, Shu and Tefnu. And it goes on to explain how he created Shu and Tefnu. And it's a very interesting story that you could look up and read about, and you can do your own research. I encourage you to do that. Don't take my word for it. It's an interesting story of how she created, how Atum created Shu and Tefnu. And you can find that in the Egyptian book of the Dead by Dr. Mulata Ashby. That's the Egyptian Book of the Dead by Dr. Mulata Ashby. And here is the book right here. So when you get a chance, you can check that out. So Shu and Tefnu had two children, Jeb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess, or it's spelled N-U-T, but I believe it's pronounced Nut, pronounced as Nut. So we have Jeb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess, and that's Shu and Tefnut's children. And the sky goddess is on top, and Jeb is on the bottom. So woman on top, man on the bottom. They created Jeb, and Nut created Asar, or his Greek name Osiris, Aset or Isis, Set or Seth, and Nephthys or Nephthys, and Nephthys, Seth, Osiris, and Isis are the Greek names. But in Kemet terminology, he's known as Asar, Aset, Set, and Nephthys. Nephthys means the lady of the house. Amongst other meanings, and not this, lady of the house is just my favorite, so I put that. And Asar and Aset were husband and wife, as well as brother and sister, and Set and Nephthys or Nephthys were husband and wife, as well as brother and sister. So the reason why Asar is colored or painted green is because he was also known as the god of vegetation. So that's why he is green. And here, Aset and Asar ruled Egypt righteously. So they were a righteous god and goddess. Whereas Set was the evil brother, or where we get Seth, like Greek, or Satan, also known as Satan, in Christianity. So Set killed Asar by cutting him up into pieces because of his jealousy that he had for his brother. And so the story goes that Aset and Nephthep found his body parts and put his body back together, and she had a baby by Asar. She conceived Haru, where in Christianity she's known as Mary and baby Jesus, or the Black Madonna. She's also known as, but not in Christianity. In Christianity, she's not known as the Black Madonna. In Christianity, she's known as Mary, and he's known as baby Jesus. And this is also known, this is where the concept of Christian concept came from, of the Immaculate Conception. So that's how he was born. And Nephthep helped her put his body parts back together again. And Nephthep also in turn had a son by Asar. This is also her brother, named Anpu, or Anpu, A-N-P-U. And as the poster board also shows, right now we're showing Jesus, or Haru, or Horus as he's called in Greek mythology. But he's known in Christianity as Jesus. So here it says that Haru, or Horus the elder, had numerous wives and children, and his 4 sons were grouped together and generally said to be born of Isis. Now, the Bible doesn't tell us that. The Bible just tells us that Jesus, it was just about Jesus and the disciples. They never told us that he had numerous wives and sons and children. But I'm going to do a second poster later on that talks about Haru's 4 sons. And I'm going to go into detail and explain about Haru's 4 sons and what they represent. This, in turn, last but not least, is the Ankh. And the Ankh in Kemet, or ancient Egypt, represents life. And it says here, the Ankh was, for the ancient Egyptians, the symbol, the actual hieroglyphic sign of life, but it is an enduring icon that remains with us even today as a Christian cross. So see, when the Europeans came, they took out the top part and then they just created what we call the cross. And it says, it is one of the most potent symbols represented in Egyptian art, often forming a part of decorative motifs. So this was very important in ancient Egypt, or ancient Kemet, because it was the symbol of life, and Christianity came and they created the cross. And Christianity tells us that Jesus came and died on the cross for our sins. But during my research, I still haven't found that yet, where it says Haru died on the cross. So I'm still learning myself, but this is what I've learned so far, and I wanted to share this with you all. Like I said, don't take my word for it. You don't have to believe what I say, but you can please do your own research and find out more about Kemet and the people who were the first people on the earth. And in conclusion, I wanted to say that I'm going to do another poster board, so that should be coming soon. And thank you for listening, and happy researching.